Hi, everyone. Welcome to the live stream. I'm so excited you are joining me here on my YouTube channel and in my private Facebook group, Mindfully Fit for Life. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I am going to talk about falling out of your routine and where to start. The official title is Fell Out of Your Routine? Start here. Just thought I would make that official. So if you are new to my YouTube channel, I would love for you to like, subscribe, especially if you find this video and any of my other videos, my shorts, valuable to you, and share with your friends and your family, especially if this content does speak to you or speak to somebody else in your life. And if you don't know me, my name is Liz Philippone. I help people stay strong, confident, and independent by combining evidence-based training with mindful movement and nervous system support. So I have I have many certifications in fitness and yoga, and I specialize in strength, mobility, and corrective exercise. And my approach here focuses on building resilience, not perfection, so that you can move better, reduce pain, and continue doing what you love to do for years and years to come. And that is what I strive to. That is part of my approach to myself in my life, especially as I am in my late 40s and I'm going to continue, right? We're all aging, right? We can't stop the clock from ticking, right? And I have found being in my 40s, great. I'm probably in the best shape of my life ever. But also like learning how to adjust as my body changes, right? Because let me tell you, if you're a woman, but even a man, but if you're a woman especially, I'm just going to spotlight women for a moment. We go through lots and lots of changes. I'm sorry, I have like a hair in my mouth or something. Yeah, it's kind of bugging me. All right. So let's get started. And before I get started, I am going to talk more about this. My Strong Foundations workshop that I have been talking about at every single end of this live stream, I have finally come to a date and a location and a time. Oh my gosh. So I'm going to share that real quick with you before I start with this live stream. And that is, it is going to be on September 19th. From 10 a.m. to noon at Push Fitness, and that's 40 Colvin Ave in Albany. Yes. So I'm really excited. Mark your calendars, save the date. And I will talk more about that at the end of this live stream. So you have to kind of watch while don't fast forward. Don't fast forward. So let's get into the topic here. Fill out of your routine. Start here, right? Because let's face it, summer can be a really challenging time to stay consistent, right, with your health routine, whatever that health routine looks like. Vacations, travel, family gatherings, different schedules happening. Our normal routines can just go right out the window, and I am with you too. But I always have that in the back of my head that is going to happen, right? And I can control what I can control, right? So, and that's just my whole shtick on that. I always have it in the back of my mind when summer is coming that things are going to get kind of out of whack and I got to adjust. I got to regroup, right? And how do I do that, right? So let me ask you, has your movement routine looked different this summer? Yeah. Feel free to answer that question in the comments, even if you're watching the replay of this, because the replay will be up after. And maybe that looks like, you worked out less often, okay? You walked more, but strength trained less. You traveled. You took some time off. You were a little bit more inconsistent, and then you completely just got out of your routine. Maybe it went in that order or something in there, right? Some kind of variation of that. If that's you, okay, if what I described right there is you don't have to start all over again, okay? So just take a deep breath and be like, you don't have to start all over again, okay? Because when we say that to ourselves, I mean, just how does that feel? It makes me feel awful. It makes me feel frustrated. It makes me feel angry, right? And then you go into like the whole blaming of yourself, right? You start getting really hard on yourself and maybe just with other things around you, right? It's just how we roll with life, right? So the I have to start over mindset, right? We have to nix that. Let me just take a sip of water. Also, it's a full moon as I'm doing this live stream. It's a full moon in Pisces today. I won't go into that. That's a whole different thing. But yeah, look it up. Look it up. That can definitely put us off kilter before and definitely after a full moon, right? And it's been kind of heightened because we've had these partial eclipses happening. So anyway, I digress there. So what often happens when we've been inconsistent, right? And you probably know this, right? But what do we tell ourselves, right? We tell ourselves, I fell off track. I lost all my progress. I need to get back in shape. I'll start again Monday. And I need to work extra hard now to make up for it. I need to pound my body. I need to starve myself. I need to restrict. I need to do, right? So, but what that creates there, that just starts to create an all or nothing cycle. I've talked about an all or nothing mindset. You should check out my other live streams in the live stream section of my YouTube channel. And then, of course, you can search in my Facebook group for that one, an all or nothing mindset, all or nothing cycle, right? So you miss some workouts, you feel left, you feel a little behind, you try to do too much, then you get sore or exhausted, and then you stop again, right? Because you just like go full force back into it. And then because you're like sore or injured, just totally drained and exhausted, you stop because you just did too much. And I had to say that to a client last night in a group training class that I teach at a small boutique gym. And she was on vacation for like 2 weeks, actually it was 2 weeks, a 2-week vacation somewhere in South America. She loves to go to South America. It's like her thing. She actually likes to bird watch. She likes to do all these things. And she's like a heavy duty lifter. She actually lifts the most weight in that class out of everybody in that room. And she was actually last night lifting the least, right? Like the weight that she was using for her deadlifts, for her bicep curls, the movements that we were doing in class, she actually went way below everybody else or on the same plane as other people. And I went over to her to make sure. I'm like, hey, you good on your weight there? Do you need any help? She's like, nope, I'm starting small here because it's been a while. And I liked that. And I told her, I'm like, good for you, because some people just, they feel bad, right? Because they feel like they lost their progress, right? And they're like, oh, I fell off track because of vacation, right? Even though she said she was walking a lot and hiking a lot, right? It wasn't like she wasn't doing anything, right? She just wasn't weight training for those 2 weeks. But she didn't fall into that mindset of like, okay, I need to like pound myself. I need to go back. I need to work extra hard now to make up for it. She didn't go there. She had this really healthy mindset of like, no, I'm just going to start here. I'll be fine. I'll get back to it. It's all good, right? And I just, I was like, great. I loved that. And I hope people in the room heard that too, actually. So I just wanted to share that real quick because I think it's important to adopt that kind of mindset, especially when you fall out of a routine. So instead of thinking about starting over, think about returning. All right? There's a big difference. You're returning to movement. You're returning to your routine. You're returning to habits that make you feel good. You're returning to taking care of your body. Doesn't that sound and feel so much better? I want you to just say that to yourself or write it down. You're not starting over. You're returning. Okay? That's the mindset that we need to adopt there. Okay. So it's really, you haven't lost everything, right? Sometimes we go into like, oh, but I've lost everything. I've lost all that progress, right? Like it's not about workouts, right? Or formal workouts. Don't think of routine as the formal workouts. Maybe this summer you walked a lot while sightseeing. I know this client did, the one I mentioned. She did a lot of walking. She said, oh my God, steep hills, all that. So maybe you walked a lot while sightseeing. Maybe you swam in pools or the ocean or lakes. Maybe, you gardened a lot at home, right? You had time off or you're retired and you did like a big gardening project, right? Maybe you played with your grandkids or your kids, right? Maybe you carried a lot of luggage through airports, train stations. You went hiking. I already mentioned that. You took the stairs a lot, right? Maybe you were, again, visiting certain landmarks and there were a lot of stairs involved. Or maybe just in a Airbnb or a hotel, right? Maybe you spent more time outside, right? Which is what we normally do in the summer. And what we want to do is we want to be outside in the summertime. So all of that I just said is movement. It is. Come on. It is all movement. Your summer doesn't have to look like a perfect workout schedule to count as anything. And even if you truly haven't done much lately, that's okay too. You can still begin from where you are today. Okay? I hope this makes sense. And I hope that gave you a little bit of like reassurance if you're feeling like you have to start over. All right. So before, here we go. Sorry, I'm like, okay. I just want to make sure that I am on the right track here. Okay, making sure my notes. Okay, so before you're jumping back into harder workouts, just ask yourself, how does my body feel right now? Okay, thinking about your mobility, balance, stability, strength, energy, confidence, right? That's what I talked about in the last couple weeks, right? What is a strong foundation? Trusting your body to move, right? So now if you've been out of a routine, or you just got a little out of, a little off track, think about it. Like, how does your body feel right now in terms of mobility, balance, stability, strength, energy, and confidence, right? So starting small, and I talk about this all the time, is doing sit to stand, right? Doing that shift, so that you're just seriously, like I teach this in classes as a move, sit to stand, right? Do a few simple movements like that just to get back into the feel of the body, the feel, the mobility and the strength, to kind of see how it all feels, right? Because you might be surprised that you're actually okay, right? Maybe you might feel a little stiff or whatever, but do a few rounds of some sit to stand and ask, can you stand and sit with control? Maybe you do some marches, right? Marching in place, shifting your weight and lifting one foot comfortably. How does that feel in your body? The mobility in your hips, the core, your posture control, right? Stepping forward, stepping sideways, right? Doing lateral movements, going upstairs, are you able to do all that with control? And then carrying things comfortably, right? Like when you pick up something, can you carry something comfortably, an appropriate weight, of course, while walking? And, this isn't a test, right? It's just information. It's just information for you to get. It's not like a pass-fail situation, right? It just helps you understand where your starting point is today, okay? It is just information, okay? We look at these things when we can't execute a certain movement easily and comfortably, we get down on ourselves, right? I get it. It's normal because it happened to me yesterday. I'm not going to go into it right now, but it did happen to me yesterday. Um, I literally prevented a back spasm. I wasn't happy about it, but I was happy I prevented the back spasm from going really, really rogue, right? But anyway, all those simple movements that I just mentioned, okay, don't use it as a test. Just like, okay, information. How did these things feel for me right now? Okay. And then you go from there. So I'm just going to share 3 ways to return without overdoing it. And I kind of did describe it just now, but I'm going to give you a little bit more because, I want you to feel confident. I want you to feel that you're capable and that, you're not alone and you can do this. Okay. So there you go. So number 1, start smaller than you think you need to, like really. And that's what my client, that example I gave from my client in yesterday's class, she started smaller. Even though she did the full workout with everybody, she dropped down on her weight, the weight that she usually uses for exercises. She dropped way down, way down. So you don't have to immediately return to an hour-long workout. Of course, she was returning to a 45-minute workout. She stepped it back a little bit and said, I'm going light, man. I'm going to go light and I might go more reps. And I said, great. That is a great strategy, right? And she's been doing it for years, right? So she already knew that, but not everybody knows that. I was just happy that she remembered to fall back on that. So try this. Try a 10-minute walk. Okay, try a 10-minute walk. That's what I did. I was in Florida for a bunch of days visiting my dad and stepmom. And, I didn't work out while I was there. I swam and I walked. But when I got back, I walked. I did a 10-minute walk as my first thing back to movement. 10-minute walk. Maybe you just do a few strength exercises like I described, sit to stand, right? Maybe you do that. And maybe you do, I don't know, a plank, or you carry something. I don't know. I'm just throwing this out there, right? Just a few strength exercises that you know and that are, harmless, right? Maybe it's 5 minutes of mobility, right? Just doing simple mobility work. Or maybe it's a short balance practice, just practicing different balances, whether it's single leg balance, maybe it's stepping laterally, crossing one foot in front of the other, doing different balance practices like that, or that we do in like yoga, right? So consistency first, intensity later, okay? Just getting back into a little bit of a consistent routine, but starting small, okay? And then number 2 is choose movements that support your everyday life. This is totally why I start, this is totally why I'm doing my Strong Foundations workshop, okay? But ask yourself, what do I want my body to help me do, right? You got back from whatever, maybe you traveled, maybe you're coming out of, you had a setback, an injury, right? Maybe it's just simply climbing those stairs comfortably and with ease, traveling with ease, hiking, gardening, getting off the floor, right? Carrying groceries, feeling just more steadier, having steadiness, right? That's huge. Okay, and then you practice those movements that support those goals, right? So like I said, getting off the floor, climbing stairs, right? Marching, climbing stairs, hiking, okay? Gardening, squat hinge, things like that, right? Carrying the groceries. Oh, I'm just getting really distracted. Sorry, hit something on my shirt. Okay, again, I digress. I'm gonna blame that full moon. All right, so number 3, give yourself somewhere to build from. Instead of randomly choosing workouts, establish your foundation. I have a series. It's a 7-day foundation series. Oh my God, that is a perfect thing if you have access to that. Instead of, know what movement feels good, right? Know what needs more attention, right? That's why you start with those first two, okay? Or maybe you start with number two, right? You're like, I got to get back into things that are going to support what I have to do here as I'm, in life. So what needs more attention? Maybe my back, I don't feel as steady and I have to work on core stability and balance, right? And then you gradually progress from there. And that's what my foundation series, it's like a 7-day quick, it's online. You can do it at your own pace. The videos are super short, and it will help establish that strong foundation in your body. So you don't need a dramatic restart, okay? You don't. You need a good starting point, all right, depending on the length that you have been off it. So like, I'm gonna go back to my client example. She was away for 2 weeks. Even though she was very active on her vacation, she wasn't strength training anymore. She wasn't strength training on that trip. So she said her starting point was to go light with the weights. Go light with these exercises that we were doing in class, regressing just a little bit to help her body ease back into it without injury, right? Okay, I hope that all made sense. And like I said, this is why I created my Strong Foundations workshop, okay, that I mentioned at the beginning of this live stream. So Strong Foundations, okay, if this is your first time hearing about this, it is designed for people who want to build or rebuild the basic movement skills that support everyday strength. Like, you don't have to be a beginner to take this workshop. You could just come as if you're a seasoned mover. Come for the fun of it and to learn something really important. And it's just so important to know that we have to go back to our foundations here. We'll work on things like strength, balance, mobility, stability, movement confidence, everyday movement patterns. And we're going to practice these movements in a supportive environment, okay? So where you can learn how to make them work for your body. It's going to be a workshop. It's not a fitness class per se, okay? So don't get confused. It's not really a fitness class, okay? It's like I want you to look at it as a lab, okay? A lab, all right? I'm going to be helping people individually. You can help each other, right? Because sometimes having another person watch you and just make subjective observations, because that's kind of what I do too. Not that I don't do objectively stuff, but having that really gives feedback and information, right? I talked about information, not to see or test you on how well you do this and if it's pass or fail, right? So just let that go out the window, okay? So it's going to be on September 19th at 10 a.m. That is a Saturday, and it goes to about 12:15. See, I already messed up the time. Look at that. It's going to be an hour and 15 minutes. I'm sorry, two and a half hours. 2 hours and 15 minutes. Yeah, full moon. Yeah, so September 19th, 10 a.m. to 12:15 at Push Fitness, 40 Colvin Ave. Registration opens Monday, August 31st. And my early bird, okay, we have an early bird pricing here of $79. It's going to be available through September 11th. So you can get the early bird price all the way up until September 11th. And then after that, it goes up to $99. So sign up now, right now. We'll sign up on Monday. So what I'm going to be doing is, if you want priority access, and I know some of you that are watching may already have priority access on my priority access list. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, this is exactly what I need, and I have a priority access list set up before registration officially opens. So what I'm going to do is that priority list is going to get an email even before registration hits on August 31st. And that's like just a few days from now. So you're going to get an email with that registration information, and you're going to be able to do it early before, the official registration date. Okay, so that's my little special thing there. So comment priority access on this video, YouTube, Facebook group, and I'll make sure you get that registration information very soon, okay? You gotta look at your inbox. You gotta look at your junk mail, okay, in the next few days. So registration officially opens on August 31st, but if you're on my priority access list, you can get it sooner. Yes, so the workshop is September 19th from 10 a.m. to 12:15 p.m. It's at Push Fitness. And again, early bird is $79. You can't beat that. After September 11th, it's going up to $99. So if you want these details as soon as they're available, because they are already available, comment priority access below. Okay, I'm so excited to do this workshop. It's going to be so fun and interactive, and you're going to learn so much. So you don't have to start over. Start where you are, build your foundation, and move forward from there. And if you'd like me to help you do that, comment priority access below. Have a great day, everybody, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. All right.